Ain't no one in the NFL better than me.
It was a great week. It was unbelievable.
Yes.
So many big
None of my
performances.
are
Right.
in this
Yeah.
good segment.
I had leagues where I scored like 145 points. I had leagues where I scored like 80 points. It's like, oh, cool.
Yeah.
Nice. This is fun.
I did
Terrible week. Great. But first guy to talk about here is Garrett Wilson, 29 fantasy points. Hey, we got the game. Everyone was excited about it. Obviously, he's a first-round pick this year. Really, really big name going into things. Here's my thing and my concern. You look at the fantasy points and you're hyped. Dude, I didn't have the time to do the math on this. I don't know if there is like ever if anyone's ever calculated the metrics on like fantasy points per target, but this has to be like the lowest output in that metric I've like ever. 29 fantasy points on 22 opportunities. Like 22. He was throwing the football 22 times. And that's what it took for us to get the game we thought would be a more regular occurrence from Garrett Wilson this season. Like 101 yards on 20. I don't know. I was of the belief that Rodgers was going to come in and do good things here. And like this, I think this is a fluke. Like I'm sorry. Like I hate to say it. I think it's a fluke.
So I'm with you. I will say just generally, this is for real. Like you can start Garrett Wilson with more confidence in the last few weeks, but I have concerns as well. I have concerns of how many targets Tyler Conklin saw, because he saw 11.
Yeah.
I have concerns that Alan Lazard and Mike Williams are both still seeing red zone targets and opportunities. I'm concerned that the 41-year-old quarterback who has a low ankle sprain is going to be able to throw it over 50 times a game in order to produce this 30-point stat line for Garrett Wilson. So I understand the reason to say this is a fluke. But I think just generally is like, do I sell high? It depends. It depends who the player is you're going to get in return. But
I don't own him anywhere, but I would, truthfully. Like if I actually really would. We'll see. It's like, would you rather have Garrett Wilson or Marvin Harrison Jr. rest of the season?
I would rather have Marvin Harrison.
And I wouldn't be like blown away if like that trade came up in the sleeper feed in some of my leagues this week. I'd be like, oh wow, someone got that done. Nice. Like I think you could probably get that done. Like trying to sell on like a low week, high week, that kind of thing. Yeah, good stuff. So we're gonna talk about the Ravens tight end room. And I have absolutely no clue what to do here. And we officially dropped Mark Andrews in the Creators League that we're in. He is off the squad.
Correct.
I know Isaiah Likely scored 16 points. I could still just as easily, I feel like right now, drop him. I'm like, cool. Like I'm like, okay, well, we have Tucker Kraft now, so I'm like, all right, well,
that works
like
out.
It's great, awesome, love it.
Mm-hmm.
Love 16 points from a tight end. 13 yards, 2 touchdowns. Like it's, I hate the Ravens. I hate Todd Monken. This is what a stupid name, Todd Monken. I hate it.
What a stupid name.
Stupid
guy.
So much.
This is all.
I
this
just don't even
is
know
a
what to
fluke.
do with any of this. Yeah,
I'll give Likely the benefit of the doubt because now this is the second time we've seen him put up some numbers, and the stat line is completely unsustainable. But at least he's done it again. So I'll say Likely I'm leaning toward, I would say could possibly be for real. But Mark Andrews, that's a fluke. You get 5 targets when Lamar Jackson throws it 40 times and you get, not even 10 points? No, you're done. Officially, I'm not re-picking you up. Andrews is staying on the bench, off my team at the most.
Isaiah Likely has an Xavier Worthy stat line. I don't know if I trust that, man. I'm too scared of that. But I'm not. He won't get dropped. He'll stay on the bench. But like it's That's anytime you see 3 catches and 2 touchdowns, it's like, oh,
That's a Hunter Henry stat
here.
line.
Yeah, that's a oh man, that's a Dontari Poe catching a trick play touchdown from.
Yeah, you lining up Dontari Poe in your flex option.
There you go. Yeah. Listen, here's a guy that's gone crazy 2 weeks in a row now, and it's DeAndre Swift. 21 carries, 73 yards, and a touchdown. 2 catches for 47 yards on 2 targets. 20 fantasy points. This is I think DeAndre Swift managers were like right at the edge, and I think they are thrilled now. And the chatter of Roshan Johnson getting more looks, like maybe is real, but he scored 2 touchdowns, but this feels more for real than fluke. I think maybe they just, in a new look offense, they had to get him going. I don't know. Do you feel similarly?
I think this is a fluke. You know why? I saw this last year with the Eagles.
It's the Panthers, so it's
yeah.
It was against the Panthers,
but
it's not a hard team to do that against. But that's
yeah. I saw DeAndre Swift get top 15 5 weeks in a row with the Eagles last year, and then he was only top 15 3 times the rest of the season. So up until week 6, 5 weeks in a row. And then after that, barely 3 times. Fluke. I know this guy. I saw him in Detroit. I saw him in Philadelphia. This is a fluke. I'm not buying it.
All right. Chase Brown, 16.4 fantasy points here. The workload is evening out a bit. The snap percentage was still pretty heavily in Zach Moss's favor. But Chase Brown actually out-carried him. And so it feels weird to say, in a game where they were, in it and, up for, a good portion of it, they weren't just letting Zach Moss run the ball out. But I'm not sure what to do here, actually, with Chase Brown. I roster him if he's out there. I don't – this Bengals team is so weird that I just don't know where I'm at with him.
I think it's worth saying it's for real. And I think if you're in a sticky situation with running backs, I think Chase Brown could be the risky play and high reward. So I'm leaning towards for real because we have seen him slowly crack into Zach Moss's opportunities. And even though Zach Moss apparently is going to be fine from that ankle injury, I do think Chase Brown is going to see more in the next game. And I think that will lead into him having a much better timeshare in the backfield. So I'm going to predict this is for real in the future.
Cool. All right. Brandon Aiyuk, finally saw him get out there and do what we know he is capable of. The Niners feel so weird, man. I don't really know what's going on with that team. I don't know if I'm willing to say fluke because I know this to be true of the player Brandon Aiyuk. However, as I recently just mentioned, this team is so weird. And this team is so strange, and I don't know what's fully going on. We'll find out soon because they play on Thursday night against the Seahawks in the division game. We'll go over those.
That's right.
We'll preview that here in just a little bit. But I think I want to say for real because I know this to be what Brandon Aiyuk does. However, if I had him, he'd be in my lineup, and I'm still scared until I see it again.
I need to see it again. Those are the words. I need to see it again, unfortunately. I have him in one league. It was an auto draft league, so I didn't really have a choice. I didn't draft him intentionally anywhere. I've never started him. And after this week, I may need to wait another week. I just need to see it again. 12 targets is great. And to put up 20 points with without a touchdown is awesome. But like you said, this team feels a little dysfunctional. They're not doing great. They don't look like they're on their way to the Super Bowl. So something has to change. And I'm not sure if it's Aiyuk needs to get more involved or what it is, but I'll lean towards Fluke personally.
Cool. Couple of Giants wide receivers here. Darius Slayton with 26.2 fantasy points. Wan'dale Robinson with 16 fantasy points. Wan'dale, I'll say this isn't a fluke. I'm glad he got in the end zone, but he gets targets, dude. And he's even
the number
with
2.
Malik Neighbors in, he gets targets. He's like going into week 5, he was like the 5th most targeted player in the NFL. They're not high quality targets. They're like at the line of scrimmage. It's like can't be like screen plays and like stuff like that he doesn't do much with after the play. But he's a flex play pretty safely in my eyes. Darius Slayton, however, this is a full benefactor of Malik Neighbors being out. So that's a fluke. But Wan'dale is for real here. He's a guy that, I mean, he hasn't come up on the waiver wire yet for us, but he's a guy that if he's out there, I'd be surprised if he is at this point. But if he's out there, he needs to pay a little more attention to him.
Agreed.
Rico Dowdle, I believe, is taking over the backfield. I believe he is the guy. Finally, we got here. 19.4 fantasy points, season high, 20 carries, 87 yards, 2 catches for 27 yards and a touchdown here. Both his touchdowns have come on screen passes. So that's the little piece that I'm like, I'm still a little nervous here, but I believe it's for real because he is taken over as the guy in the backfield. You know, it is still a committee, but he is the 1A of the 1A, 1B, 1C, 1D, 1E.
I would call that 1B and 2B.
He's not even, I can't even call him 1A. I can't even call him 1A yet.
Generally, it's like a 1C plus, and it's a 2C plus. You know, that's kind of how the backfield is. My personal thoughts on Rico Dowdle here. I need to see what it looks like when Dak Prescott isn't throwing 3 interceptions, and the passing game looks like ass a tree. You know, say for the final incredible sack from Jalen Tolbert. I need to see what the offense looks like when Dak Prescott doesn't look like the worst quarterback in the NFL. So Rico, yes, if you're in a injury situation, bye week situation, you got Rico, roll him out. I think you'll be okay. But as far as rolling him out with a top 15 upside like this, one more week. Give me one more week. I think you can do it. I think this will be for real, but I need to see it one more time. Yeah.
Javonte Williams. Last guy here we'll talk about in the good section, 16 fantasy points. I genuinely hate Javonte Williams like so much, dude. And
Why?
It's sad because I was so high on Javonte Williams his rookie year, and he got his opportunities when Melvin Gordon went down. We were sky high. These me and the Javonte Williams truthers, we were out here, we were thrilled, we were celebrating, and then year 2, here we go, breakout, torn ACL, busted, get out of there. And then he just this
is really getting to you.
He's never returned to form, and I've just wanted him to so bad this year. And I also just hate Sean Payton, and I don't like watching the Broncos play football. And I'm just, this is a fluke. I just hate this backfield. It's so confusing. And whenever Audric Estime returns, I think he's going to get like a real shot at like getting like real carries in this offense. I don't buy it. Also because I just don't know when the Broncos are ever going to be winning like they were again. So I don't know. I could be alone on that, but that's just me.
Bo Nix was top 10 in fantasy on the week. He's wheeling and dealing. They got the
Bo Nix.
I think the best defense.
60 yards last week.
Yeah, it was up. Well, I mean, the one thing about Javonte is defense.
They do
the targets for Javonte. I mean, that's the one thing to point out. But I'm with you. I definitely need to see it probably 2 more times for Javonte. Because Jaleel had a good game as well. Jaleel McLaughlin still looked pretty good. Someone we mentioned in the offseason. So, yeah, I'm with you.
Yeah.
I don't hate Javonte, but I'm with you.
We'll see. Yeah, I don't know. We'll see. Jump into the bad section here. A few guys just to fire through here real quick. Sam Darnold. I guess when you go overseas to play football, you're bad because it happened with Aaron Rodgers too. Not as bad as this, but Sam Darnold only had four fantasy points here. Didn't really need to do a whole lot, to be honest. They had a defensive touchdown. They were running the ball fairly well and fairly efficiently. But this is a fluke. I mean, Darnold's great, and he's had a down game, and he'll come back after the bye week and still be 5-0 and be undefeated, and they'll be ready to keep rolling there. Agree? Thoughts?
Agree.
Nice. Marvin Harrison Jr., Wes, 5.6 points. Where are we at with him?
Down game. It's going to happen with a rookie, especially, even as talented as he is. Don't panic. It's going to be just fine. 7 targets is wonderful. Sometimes Kyler Murray is going to run for a 50-yard touchdown in the first drive of the game, and that's just how that goes. So just be prepared that he won't always win you your week, but you got to lock him in. He's going to be fantastic throughout the season and still absolutely finish top 15, and we still think he'll be top 10.
Yeah. I feel like Marvin Harrison Jr. owners got spoiled and a little bit ruined for the beginning of the year for a rookie wide receiver, because obviously week 1 was really rough, and then week 2 comes out and he goes nuclear, and it's 30 fantasy points, and now Marvin Harrison Jr. owners are probably a little disappointed right now because what happened in week 2 hasn't happened 3 weeks in a row now, but he still had 15 and a half fantasy points and 17 and a half fantasy points, which this early in your career, and you're 5 games into your NFL career, and you're just still putting up that kind of production for fantasy football. Yeah, it's
just fine.
They had a game where they were ahead of the 49ers. It was they were beating they beat the 49ers. It was that kind of game, and they were doing what they had to do. So good for them. On the opposite side there, Deebo Samuel, only 3 fantasy points. He was great first 2 weeks. Then he got hurt. Then he came back. And his first game back, 10.5 points, which isn't what he was doing his first 2 weeks. Also isn't terrible. You hit the double-digit benchmark there, but definitely not what you were hoping for. And then 3 fantasy points. And I guess the targets is where I have the most pause. Wes, is that also where you're at? Only 3 targets.
Yeah, absolutely. Out-targeted by George Kittle, obviously. Out-targeted by Brandon Aiyuk, but out-targeted by Juwan Jennings as well. 4th on Brock Purdy's list of targets for the week. Yeah, I'm concerned.
Maybe Shanahan's going to go look at the film and go look at the game, the scheme for Thursday night, and go, oh well, we lost the 2 games that were not involving Deebo, so maybe we need to do that more often, and maybe we need to get him more schemed in, because obviously he's extremely, extremely talented. We both believe it, but the involvement isn't there. So definitely going to have to wait and see on that one. I mean, I believe he's a good player, and I believe he's an important piece to this offense. So I think they'll figure out how to get him right. But this is definitely disappointing.
I also think he's more hurt than is disclosed. I think he's still hurt. And I'm worried.
Pretty on brand for the 49ers this offseason. God.
Not reveal injury statuses.
John Lynch can go suck one, dude. God,
I think he's still hurt. And I think this is going to be a problem.
Potential. My panic alarm isn't super high after his first single digit performance of the year, but there definitely could be more to this. My panic level is very high for this guy that we're about to talk about here, and it's Breece Hall. I mean, this sucks. like we just had a conversation about Bijan Robinson where we said this sucks. And Breece Hall's been worse than Bijan Robinson. Maybe not collectively,
last 2 weeks,
but over the last 2 weeks, yes.
Yeah.
I'm worried. I am. If I'm a Breece Hall manager, I believe that this is going to be a struggle and an issue for a lot of the season going forward. And if I could, I would try and sell while his name still has value. Truthfully, I would sell. I would sell him for Bijan Robinson. I would. I actually really would. If I could do a 1-for-1 swap, if the Bijan manager just was like wanted to just swap out there, I feel better having Bijan Robinson on my fantasy team rest of season than I do Breece Hall. Even with the struggles we've seen from Bijan, I still feel better about Bijan than I do Breece. Because I love Tyler Algier, but Braylon Allen is really good. And this is a legitimate concern for me.
I'm not too worried, to be honest. I'm not panicking because I know when the stretch ends. I know when this skid ends. And if you can make it to week 10 for Breece Hall, then you will have that top 10 running back. And I know that's a lot to ask for right now. We're just going into week 6.
Yeah,
currently.
I mean that's 5 more weeks.
Right. So that is a case for me to say buy low on Breece Hall because Denver and Minnesota are very good defenses. So I can understand that they have down games. Any offensive player has a down game against those two teams. I understand. Having 3 points and 6 points in full PPR is really bad. So I understand we're in this conversation now. But he's got Buffalo next, which should be a bounce back. And then he's got Pittsburgh, which should be another bad game. And then New England, and then Houston. We'll see what happens. And then after that, man, once you're in the playoffs with Breece Hall and you need to win to get in, he's got a wonderful schedule. I'll just rattle it off real quick. But it's the Cardinals, and then the Colts, and then a bye week. Then it's Seattle, and then it's Miami, Jacksonville, Rams, and Buffalo to close out the season. Once we get through week 9, Breece Hall will be just fine. But altogether, sure, I can say for real for the next couple of weeks, but I'm not panicking. I say you can buy low, and I still see him as a top 10 potential. Braylon Allen is great, but I'm not too worried.
Yeah, the Denver and Minnesota are really good defenses. I just don't know if I need to win, I don't know if I have until week 10 to then be like, okay, now I'm gonna pop off. I like if I need to, like if you're a Breece manager and you're winless or you're 1-4 or even 2-3. I mean, it's hard if you have more options and you could still sell him. I don't know. I think I love the guy. He was my number 2 running back this year, but I worry about the feature ability anymore, to be honest. I mean, I don't know. I'm a little worried. I don't know. Maybe I'm overthinking it. Denver's a really good defense. Minnesota's a really good defense. I wish I don't know.
He's still in full PPR top 15 running back. He's 13th after 5 weeks. And that's still better than Jahmyr Gibbs right now. Even after that game and even after the week against Denver, he's still and I know Jahmyr Gibbs just had a bye week, so it doesn't really count. I was going to say
Jahmyr Gibbs has
But he has still outperformed Bijan Robinson to this point. Bijan is still barely in the top 20. So I don't know who wins. Maybe if you want more of a consistent floor in your Breece Hall owner, I understand if you want to make that move, but I think in the end, Breece Hall will be fine. This is just a bad stretch because they're not winning. Aaron Rodgers is struggling, and they played some tough defenses, but he'll get going. I got some faith.